What are your opinions of the DH in baseball, and do you see it changing going forward? Now, I think there are positives and negatives to the DH right now, and I feel like if the change were to ever be made to the DH rule, I feel like there would be positives and negatives towards either direction. But I think the DH is extremely positive right now because I feel like true fans of baseball in today's era are exactly that, true fans. The performance-enhancing era of baseball has gone. I feel like the home run race set such a high bar, and it was such an eye-grabbing era or time in baseball that the people that are still watching it that can appreciate the dominance of pitching and, let's say, a 2-0 or a 2-1 win are fans that will always be fans of baseball. They'll always enjoy it. Whereas the people that used to watch it for, the glamour and the muscle and the 100-mile-an-hour fastballs and the 70 home run seasons, those people are kind of gone because baseball isn't as eye-catching. You have to be able to appreciate the aesthetics of baseball. Now, if there were to ever be a change of the DH rule, I feel like they would allow it to be across both the American and National League. I feel like they would take away the pitcher simply because pitching is so dominant now, or you see it every single year, the dominance of great pitching, that offenses are struggling to hit. And I mean, the Kansas City Royals won the World Series simply because they put the ball into play and were number one against 95-plus mile-an-hour fastball, simply because the faster it goes in, the quicker it goes out. I'm a Yankee fan. I look at the Yankees offense now and I hate it because they rely so much on the home run that I could tell you at the beginning of the year that the offense would fail like it always does in September leading into the playoffs because dominant pitching always beats, this home run style offense. It doesn't work anymore. So I could see the DH being set across both the American and National League to try to increase the scoring in baseball, to try to grab a little more attention to it, to try to relive some of those glory days of great offensive baseball. The reasons why I can see it not changing going forward is because that's what separates baseball. Baseball is the only sport I can think of off the top of my head that you have both leagues or conferences, depending on what sport you watch, that are divided by that, where there's two separate rules for batters, pretty much pitchers hitting, or in the American League, having a professional DH. And I feel like there are merits to that. It makes baseball unique. And for the American League, I feel like it does give them a distinct advantage over National League teams in interdivision play or interleague play because the American League teams obviously have more potent offenses. They build their teams around the DH, which means that having that DH improves the quality of each successive batter before you hit the DH, because obviously they plan around that. That's something they take into consideration with their payroll. And you can see it show up in interleague play. Now, obviously, in the National League teams, when it comes to the World Series, in the last 20 years, 11 of the teams have won from the American League. So that's virtually no difference, but you also have to take into consideration that teams that make the World Series are either extremely hot or just the cream of the crop in the league. So obviously the deficiencies from an offensive standpoint wouldn't be as prevalent because this is a World Series caliber team. They obviously made the World Series, and there's something that they do extremely well as having minimal weaknesses. But I feel like in terms of free agency, having a DH across both platforms will kind of even the playing field a little bit. Because, again, American League teams, when it comes to interleague play and using the DH, they have options. If their pitcher has to hit, they have an option to maximize their lineup, and they have a bat on the bench that can pinch hit that's capable of doing so. Whereas National League teams, excluding the World Series caliber teams, are looking just for any kind of solution. So that's how my kind of analogy is. Options versus solutions, American League versus National League. But I think there are merits. There are merits to it. I feel like if baseball going forward is going to really look, if this change were to ever take place, it would be because the attendance of baseball would dip because of the lack of offense. I feel like at this point in time, fans are still, 5 to 8 years removed from the steroid era of baseball. And that attention still resonates to the point where they still watch it. They still pay attention to it. Whereas if you go ahead a few generations going forward, so let's say 15, 20, 25 years, where you have kids that weren't born or really consciously aware of and appreciate just the incredible offensive explosion and the home run records and all of that, wouldn't really have as much of an interest to watch it. So I feel like attendance would have to dip for them to really make that kind of change because, again, I feel like the DH is one of those things in professional sports that separates baseball from everyone else. And I appreciate it. I have absolutely no problem with any change being made. Honestly, if I had to pick, I would say not to change anything. I love baseball the way it is. But yeah, if there would ever be a change, I feel like it would be 20, 25 years in the future. But that's just my opinion. I want to know what you guys think. This is About All Things Sports, and I'll see you guys later.